Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, Governor Wike creates more problems for former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Also, Senate insists on investigating Supreme Court justices' allegations. And later on the show, Governor Obaseki warns Peter Obi gaining ground with the Nigerian youth. In the course of the program, we take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel to drop your questions in the comment section. I have joining me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. It's good to see you again, BKO.
Thank you for doing this with me again today.
Great. Now, let's begin with the Wike Atiku row, so to put it. But there's quiet in the PDP over the unusual quietness of the River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, after its presidential candidate picked Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as his running mate. Help us make sense of Wike's quietude, especially with some PDP stalwarts already casting a shadow of doubt in the success at the 2023 polls.
You see, ideally, a presidential candidate should be the one to choose his running mate. A presidential candidate has to find the running mate that best complements him, the running mate that will help him to win the election, the running mate that he believes that they can work together. The running mates that they can work together may not necessarily be the most popular person around. The best football teams are not necessarily the best assemblage of the best players in the world. The best football teams are the best assemblage of players that best complement one another. You see teamwork, everyone jumping in, everyone fighting for the other person, helping the other person to achieve his aim. But in our kind of politics, what we see is stakeholders, political party leaders, wanting to decide for the presidential candidate who should be his running mate. And we've seen situations in which running mates were forced on standard bearers of parties, and they ended up finding it difficult to work together, leading to impeachment of the running mates in some cases, talking about governors, leading to the president fighting his running mate just after they got into office. The example of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu comes to mind. The party leaders of Alliance for Democracy at that time imposed Ola Faulkner on Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they were quarreling from the first time, literally from the first day, because Faulkner contested against Tinubu for the ticket. As far as he's concerned, this is somebody that she could have defeated. Now she's made to work under that person. The other examples, in Sokoto State, Mutari Shagari contested for the governorship of Sokoto State on the platform of the PDP. Then President Obasanjo told him, look, step down for Magatakada Wamako. Wamako led the party to victory, and Mutari Shagari was asked to be its deputy. What did we see? They never liked one another. They continue to fight. until they left office. They never really agreed with one another. So in this case, I believe that having a committee of the PDP screen so-called potential running mates for Atiku was wrong. Atiku should have been allowed to pick his own running mate. Because by the time that committee started its work, invariably, an overwhelming number of people in that committee supported Wike being Atiku's running mate. Not many people will want to have Wike as their running mate. Let us tell ourselves the truth. Clearly, the choice did not make Atiku happy. Atiku wanted somebody more sedate, somebody calmer, somebody that he felt was more cerebral, somebody that he felt would best compliment him, somebody that he felt he would feel comfortable to work with. He found that person in Ifeanyi Okowa, the governor of Delta State. But Wike feels very bad that despite the fact that he came tops, amongst the people that were considered by the committee, yet Atiku looked beyond them. He is not happy. His supporters amongst PDP governors are not happy. And I can tell you a good number of the PDP governors from the south are not happy. Two things do not make them happy. They expected that power should shift to the south. They asked for it. They pushed for it. But at the end of the day, Atiku prevailed at the convention, thanks largely to the decision of the governor of Sokoto State, Tambua, to step down and give him the chunk of votes that normally would have gone to Tambua from the Northwest especially. So the governors are disappointed that he didn't choose the person that they wanted. Wike is disappointed that despite the fact that he came tops, Atiku decided to ignore him. So some of the governors fiercely close to Wike, fiercely loyal to Wike, people like Governor Tom, they are not likely to support Atiku in this contest. And that makes life even more difficult for Atiku as he seeks to defeat the candidate of the APC. That's why they need to work hard to bring Wike on board, bring him to their side. Anything less than that, Wike has got the resources, he has got the stubbornness to make life difficult for Abubakar Atiku. And you know, this is Atiku's last chance to be president of Nigeria. If he doesn't get it this time, this perennial contestant will have lost the chance to become president of our country. I don't see him contesting again after 2020. So he has to do whatever it takes. If he needs to reach out to Wike and beg him, as the governor of Trump suggested, he has to do it. You can see that his response to Fayoshe's suggestion that Wike was badly treated and that he would not support Atiku was a very reasonable, measured response. Because he knows at this time that you do not fight fire with fire. You cannot respond with fighting words. To respond with fighting words will make the situation worse. So Atiku is very calm, trying to manage this situation as best as he can. But even Wike, who said he would never agree to be anybody's vice president, felt bad that despite the fact that that committee that screened potential vice presidential candidates of the PDP picked him at the best, out of the park. yes, Atiku decided to snub him. It's something that makes him sad, and he's in the mood to rock the
Absolutely.
boat.
Yeah. BKO, former, just like you said, former Governor Ayodele Fayose, Governor Otom, including Jonah Jang, have expressed their dismay in different ways. In
Yeah.
fact, some are said to be canvassing for Okowa to be dropped outright for Wike, who was recommended by 14 of the 17 members of the committee set up by the party to pick Atiku's running mate. When push comes to shove, do you think that can ever happen?
So I don't see him dropping Okowa. I don't see him dropping Okowa. They have to reach out to these people, beg them, appeal to them. If he drops Okowa, things will get worse. I don't see him dropping Okowa at all. Um, People who preferred Wike, people like Fauci delivered all the votes, all the delegates from Ekiti. He delivered them to Wike at the presidential convention. Those who are taunting Fauci that he didn't score a single vote, they don't understand politics. Fauci made a promise to Wike that all the delegates from Ekiti that he controls, because he controls the delegate, or he controls the delegate, he would give them to Wike, and he delivered. So the votes that should have come to Fauci, he gave to Wike. So how do you expect Fauci to be happy that a man that is supported didn't win the primaries and then became the choice of the committee that was set up to pick a deputy for Atiku? And after he became the choice of that committee, the candidate decided on his own to pick someone else. He cannot be happy. Ego is involved. Political future is involved. If you become the vice presidential candidate and you win, you have immunity, at least for 8 years, depending on how many years you are in power. So Wike is already making all kinds of calculations. And for everything to end up for him in this way, he's extremely angry. He's crashing around like a little boy whose candy was taken away. And in this mood, it can cause real problems for the candidates of the PDP. I'm sure people now are aware that he had a meeting with Ashwaju. They will be worried about his next moves. He also had a meeting with Peter Obi. They will be worried about his next moves. So this is the thing. Politics is an interest-driven game. You have to manage the people that you are playing politics with. You have to manage them very well. Don't manage them very well. The blowback can be really, really bad.
All right. BK, Fabian Akeze says, Wike, in my opinion, would have been the best president to transform the country. And Egbe Omorige says, Wike will be another Umahi. It will remain in PDP, but work against Atiku. Well, I believe that's his opinion. But let's change tack by looking at our second topic, which is the Supreme Court and the National Assembly looking to continue its investigation into the Supreme Court, despite the resignation of the former CGN. This is despite senior advocate Femi Falana arguing that the National Assembly has no power to look into the affairs of the judiciary. But what do you think this would achieve in the long run?
Well, it probably will help us achieve some level of probity, some level of transparency as it concerns the finances of the apex courts of our country. I am disturbed that in a season when clearly the budgetary allocation to the judiciary, to the Supreme Court has gone up, we now have Supreme Court justices complaining about poor welfare, complaining that they've been given vehicles that are bad instead of being given new cars. These are not allegations that the former CJN has denied. In fact, on the issue of bad vehicles for the judges, he said that the people concerned to be the one to answer for the, to defend those allegations. But as the leader, you are not allowed, you are not supposed to permit certain things to happen. We know that civil servants are crooked. A good number of civil servants are crooked. We know that a lot of the corruption and the seat of power gets perpetrated by civil servants. They have the knowledge and capacity to do things when it comes to corruption and get away with it because they are familiar with the processes, the way things are done. But if the National Assembly appropriates money for the judiciary and other arms of government, if the money appropriated does not go to the places they are meant to go to, they have every right to find out why. They have every right. Yes, it may look unusual, but in my view, they can't simply watch civil servants, because in this case, I suspect that civil servants are the people involved. They can't simply watch civil servants tamper with money that is meant to take care of the welfare of Supreme Court judges and fail to do anything about it. If these big public servants are summoned and they explain themselves, it may mean that the Supreme Court needs to be availed more money to run its affairs. For example, the issue of diesel. Yes, diesel selling at 850 naira per liter, whereas it was selling at 225 naira per liter back in February. It's bad news for business, it's bad news for everyone. But I find it difficult to believe that judges will be told that once it is 4 o'clock, that the generators will be switched off. These are people who write judgments, sometimes up to 100 pages. There's no way they won't do extra work in the office. So if the executive is entitled to money to buy diesel to ensure it makes sense to say that the judiciary or the Supreme Court judges should not have access to such money to buy diesel so that they can do extra work in the office. Telling them that the generator will be shut down at 4 p.m. is a way of telling them to go home. I mean, if you said 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, it's understandable. But to tell them to go home at 4 o'clock, it's just not good enough. The money has to be provided for them to do their work diligently and with the best of work ethic. That is that ought to go to the Supreme Court judges. Then it is for the National Assembly in the exercise of its oversight functions to investigate, find out. If the money is not enough, then they need to appropriate more money to them. But they will not know if the money allocated is not enough if they do not investigate, if they do not find out what's going on. So I support the Senate to investigate some of those allegations There's no reason why judges should be denied for training, for workshops, and the rest of them. There's no need, no reason in the world. So I want the Senate to try to investigate those allegations. That would be the interest of everyone. The rest of us here, at least, will be able to know the truth. We'll know what really is the problem. Perhaps
Absolutely,
it
Mikhail, that's
actually
it.
needs more money.
Yeah, correct. That's it. So we'll see how the whole thing actually turn out at the end of the day. Let's look at our last topic, Mikhail. Edo State Governor Gov Obaseki has raised the alarm over the impact of the obedient movement and the effect on the ruling party and the PDP as the 2023 presidential election approaches. This has also been echoed by some other politicians who feel the movement is gaining momentum. How are you reading these political dynamics as the elections approach?
You see, Peter Obi is gaining popularity daily with young people in our country. Yes, the young people are not the traditional voting bloc because the elderly usually outvote young people. Young people for so long in our country had been apolitical, interested only in music, entertainment, and the rest. But NSAS changed a lot of things. And a lot of these young people that you see with Obi now, they are products of the NSAS struggle. A lot of them are hungry. I'm not saying only the NSAS people are with Obi. There are some Nigerians who did not really get involved during the NSAS protest, but who see Obi as the finest of all evils. Politicians are seen as representing evil, but they see Obi as better than other evils. So they think Obi is like a new broom that will help sweep away the problems that they are facing in the country. And interestingly, a lot of the entertainment people who also played an active part during the NSAS struggle are supporting Obi today. What the governor of Edo said is true to a very large extent. A lot of young people are disappointed in both the APC and the PDP. They don't want to hear the names of those political parties. They believe that those two parties have not done well for us as a people, as a country. A lot of these young people think that they don't have a future. They believe that with the APC and the PDP, nothing significant will change. That is the point that the governor of Edo State is echoing that look, in every home, you have someone who belongs to the obedience movement. Peter Obi is a movement, whether we like it or not. I may not be a supporter. I may not approve of his method. But we have to admit that Peter Obi is already a movement in our country. And you can see that the young people appear to trust him more than they trust those that they believe represent the old order. It's just these young people expressing their anger in their own way. You can see that the Minister of Works, Fashola, told them that not to vote with anger. He wants them to calm down and do a lot of soul searching, a lot of introspection before voting. But anger can push people you sometimes take the better. Anger can also make people to take the worst decisions. As far as these young people are concerned, it is Obi or nobody else. And you can see they dominate the social media. You can see how a pastor who appeared to be making a cryptic response, cryptic, um, uh, not really jibe. The pastor appeared to be making what appeared to be a cryptic reference to Peter Obi. They harassed him, they bullied him, and he had to remove the tweet. He had to delete the tweet. Pastor Koju, Oyemade. That's the Obi movement at work. Whether this movement can translate to victory or Obi is the question whose answer is blowing in the wind. They will need to do a lot more to deliver victory to their candidate. Yes, a lot of them are getting their PVCs. They are showing greater interest in politics than before. And it's the same thing that the NLC is doing. The NLC is saying that they believe that it is only Peter Obi that can make things happen for them. And the NLC, at this time, they are mobilizing their people to support Peter Obi. But the NLC too needs to do a lot more. Given the nature of politics in our country, you have to make sure that your structures are everywhere. You have to be present across the country. You cannot yield ground to the opponent. You don't deliberately yield ground to the opponent by not being present in certain places. That will make it difficult for you to win. So the Obi train is real. The Obi movement is real. And everything that the governor of those states said is true.
Yeah.
Those young
Vicky,
people.
let me quickly button. Yeah, thank you. Let me quickly button. The youth, they believe that they are the structure for Peter Obi. So they say, damn structure, we are the structure, we'll go on the street, and then on the day of the election, we'll vote. But one worry expressed by the people of thought is that they describe Obi supporters as brash, rude in their remarks, and are not willing to engage in opposition views without hurling insults at anyone, no matter your ranking in the society, whether you're a pastor, you're a man, you're someone of repute. How do you think this may rub off on the gentleman's candidacy?
I think they need to tone down their enthusiasm. Abusing people the way they are doing will rob their candidates of tremendous support. They don't need to abuse people. Make your point clear. Disagree with people. You are free to disagree, but don't abuse people. It's not. You can appeal to people and lead them to take the right decision, informed decision. Not until you abuse people. I hate people who abuse other people, disagree with them on social media. There are some people who could be convinced that Peter Obi is the best man for the job. But you don't need to abuse them. You just need to talk to them. Talk to them. The tools are there that you can use to advance your argument. You don't need to abuse people. That is what I disagree with about their methods. You don't need to abuse people to sell your candidate. It's absolutely childish to do that. But again, the anger in the land, you cannot deny the anger in the land. And many people respond to anger in different ways. Many people respond to the pains that they are going through in our country in different ways. For being supporters, that is one way by which they are responding to the pains that living in Nigeria amounts to. Remember, 20 soldiers killed because some bandits wanted to kidnap some Chinese in our country. 20 soldiers killed in one day in one location. So I wish them luck. I wish them good luck. I want a better Nigeria. And if a better Nigeria will happen in my lifetime, I'm not going to begrudge God. I'll be thankful to God for making that happen.
Yeah, so let me quickly take some comments here. In fact, I can even say the Obi supporters they've actually infested, the comment section. But I'll try to, sift some and try to take some of the questions, some of the comments here. Jamil says, majority of the youth shouting Peter Obi are mainly youth of Eastern extraction. How do you react to that?
That's not completely true. I've seen some of my own friends are not from the east, but are saying it's Obi that they want. I've seen people even from the north central. I've seen people from the southwest who are saying, "Look, this guy should be allowed to do it." And I tell you, if Obi finds a way to merge the Labour Party with the NNPP, they are going to cause problems. Mark my words. If Kwankwaso and Obi found a way to come together and it becomes a joint ticket, they are going to cause problems. They are going to cause problems. I'm not saying they will win, but they are going to cause problems. I can tell you that. So they may have a preponderance of them may be from the east. I'm not going to argue, but I've seen some die-hard supporters of Peter Obi who are Yoruba, who are from the North Central, who are even from Kano. So you can't. It's just interesting. These are interesting times. It makes the politics sweeter. As journalists, there can be nothing better than this. Something that gives us stories to write. I mean, we'll be happy.
All right. Moses Adeni says, God bless you, BKO, for what you represent in our country and what you're doing for this generation. Please, how can I see you one-on-one for some confidential and important discussion? I'll be adding that with another person also saying, thank you very much, BKO, for being objective all the time, and we appreciate your analysis so far. Another person is also asking here, I'm trying to look for the comment. The comments are just really, dropping very fast. But I saw one, which, okay, can you talk more about the merger? And before you answer that, there are some people now praising you for, saying what they'd like to hear. I hope they won't come at you, at your throat, when you start to tell them what they don't like to hear, but the truth.
That is the problem that we have as a people. Remember when I spoke about tomato prices going up? Some people start on social media were abusing me, including so-called extremist supporters of the APC. But today, some of those people still praise me. It's all part of what we are saying. Many Nigerians can't face a healthy debate. When you say something they don't like, you become to them an animal. They will call you names. How can anybody in the APC, for example, imagine that he loves Nigeria more than me? I've not seen that person. It's just not possible. I'm taking risks that they cannot take. When they are in their homes, I'm taking risks going to the most dangerous places in our country to bring the pains that people are going through to the government to realize. And then you did something, you wrote it, you posted something about tomato prices going up and they simply went bananas. That's the nature of social media. A lot of our young people do not have the patience. They think that they can progress by simply abusing people. No, You will make progress by showing what you've got here. Show what you've got. Bring superior argument. At the end of the day, we won an award because I then got my team to do a documentary on tomato prices across our country, and we won an award for that. So I thank them for calling me tomato journalist. I thank them for abusing me because in the end, we got a reward. We got an award for the story that we did, or the documentary that we did on rising prices of tomato. Sometimes they don't know that they push you to give your best by some of the rubbish that they write on social media. But that's the way it is. For me, I want to be as objective as possible. I don't care. I don't have friends that I cannot afford to offend. I've lost many friends, but you cannot keep friends as an objective journalist. Your best friend may tomorrow become your enemy because you said something that I didn't like. I'm used to that already.
Absolutely.
After all these years, I don't care how people take my opinion. I'm speaking straight from my heart as my conscience leads me. That's the way I talk. That's the way
Absolutely.
I talk.
Thank you very kindly. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, all the way from Abuja. Really appreciate it, BKO. And that's our show for today's edition.
So I'm actually back.
Special thanks to you always.
I'm back from
You're
Abuja.
back.
I'm somewhere in Agidi.
Fantastic.
I'm somewhere in Agidi.
Okay, fantastic.
At a shopping mall.
But we know that you are not home.
I just have to.
We know that you are not home. Some
Yes,
people said we can see that Babajide is living in a luxury environment.
Yes. Yes. I'm using the premises of shopping mall to do this because our viewers are important. If I decided to run home, I'll be late. So I respect the viewer. I appreciate the viewer a lot. They took us to 61,000 views for last week's edition, which is by far the highest that we've done. The highest before then was 38,000. But we did 61,000 for last week. So I appreciate them for their support and for making us relevant. Without the viewer, we are irrelevant. Abi?
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. Well, so we say special thanks to you, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju, for those insightful analyses as always. And thanks to you to our audience for joining us on every edition and making this possible. You can see the program again anytime by subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News. Click on the subscribe button to get the latest information. On behalf of the team, I'm Ibrahim Shita. See you again next edition. Bye for now.
Yeah.